What's going on, everyone? So, episode 9 is over, and now we have one episode left. You have episode 10, the season finale. Now, we know we have another season coming ahead. Supposedly, they want to do at least two more seasons. That doesn't mean that they'll only do two more seasons, but the plan is to kind of at least get to season 5, which would be a huge accomplishment for the show. I could see it going beyond that just because it's only getting more and more popular. And I don't see them just hanging it up if it's an incredibly popular show, especially for MGM Plus and stuff like that. But um, this episode really didn't answer any of the questions. I mean, it answered like Miranda's death and how she died. We got that, but we still have a million questions. And obviously, I've talked about this before. Do you get so many questions that there's no way you're going to be able to answer all of them? But we have significant storylines that have been set up and established throughout this season that there is no way, zero shot that they are going to be able to answer everything in one episode. This episode could be 4 hours long and you wouldn't be able to answer everything that you need to answer in this episode, right? Which means that most of these things, if not, bare minimum, a handful of these things, are likely going to carry over and bleed in to the next season. Now, my guess is the Fatima storyline probably finishes, right? I think that that's kind of what this is really building to a head. And I think we'll get kind of the conclusion of that in this next episode. But beyond that, I mean, you have now Tabitha appearing to be the reincarnated version of Miranda. Okay, well, there's no way you're going to be able to just resolve that and answer all of Tabitha's questions and all this stuff, right? Like, without kind of rushing this. And that's something I don't want to see. I really hope that they don't try to just like jam pack this episode so heavily that it ends up being too convoluted, right? And it's too much to keep up with, right? Like, I want to be able to digest the information and the scenes that we get, right? Like, you look at like episode 1 this season was very, like, they got a lot done, but it was a nice, smooth transition. Like, I thought it was a very well done episode, right? So you can get a lot done, but there's a lot of stuff that I don't want to see wrapped up and solved up in a few sentences of dialogue, right? Like, there's things that I think that they really need to kind of hit on. And, the fact that we are getting another season, I think season 4 is probably going to be one of those things where, like, it's basically part 2 of the finale of this season, right? So, like, how this will end, pick up, kind of like, like Boyd from season 1 to season 2, right? Like, and I mean, even to an extent with Tabitha from season 2 to season 3, but I think even more so because, again, you got this, right? You have obviously Jade, right? Is he the reincarnated version of Christopher? We still have things to unpack and unravel with Christopher and Victor and his memories, and then also Jade still got to figure out, what are the bottle notes, right? What do the bottle notes mean? He's still got to kind of resolve that, the symbol, right? Like, there's still a ton to unpack with Jade and Christopher. You have Martin, right? Like, what's going on with Martin? What evil is lurking in the dungeon, right? What is the dungeon? Is the dungeon really this kind of like time travel portal, right? Is Julie going to be able to just step in and, be able to navigate time and change things of the past or the future or whatever, right? Like, is Martin, who is Martin? What is Martin, right? Is he really a character of the past? Is he a character of the future? Is he the evil? And it's kind of like a Saw thing, right? Like, there's so many different possibilities here that they could play into, that they need to resolve, like with the dungeon. Again, Julie, right? Like, Julie, there's clearly, like, I don't see her just not going to the dungeon again, right? Going back to the ruins. I don't see that. Her curiosity is insane. Like, talked about getting, like, her fear is getting stuck and all that stuff, right? Like, it just feels like there's going to be even more that's going to kind of take place and unravel. And there's still so much we're going to have to unpack and unravel with the dungeon that there's no way you're going to be able to do that in one episode. You could probably dedicate the entire episode to that, and you probably wouldn't be able to answer everything you need to do, right? Like, so again, you have Julie, right? You have the kimono lady. Who is the kimono lady? What is the kimono lady? Now, you could just do it in dialogue, right? Which I kind of wish we would have gotten this episode. Right? I kind of wish that we would have gotten, like, Fatima, when she was like, oh, like, I saw her, she's not good, like, what you're doing is bad, blah, blah, blah. And I wish, she was like, do you even know what the kimono lady is or what that lady is? And Elgin maybe explain it. Boom, there you go. Like, I don't think that is such a big story point that it's like you have to get it. And I kind of feel like we might not even get the answer of what she is, right? It might just kind of be another spirit that's there, right? Like, kind of thing, kind of like, like the music box spirit. Like, we didn't really, it just like appeared to be Abby, right? Like, I don't know if we're gonna get the confirmation for that. Also, the body that was just in that room that Fatima's tied up in, apparently that body was nothing, right? Apparently that body had like zero significance, zero importance, right? It was just there for aesthetic purposes, which that's a little disappointing. The phone call went absolutely nowhere, right? Like, which is disappointing, right? With Jim, you have so many things that you need to unpack. I mean, even Boyd, right? Like, what's going on with Boyd's sickness, his illness, right? Like, it kind of feels like he's on borrowed time, like he's on a ticking clock, right? And it's just like, I don't think that they made it a point for that for nothing, right? And he, had this heartfelt moment with Kenny and all that, right? Like, there's so much that this season still has to unpack. And I know that there's probably 100 other things that I haven't even, that I didn't even mention and didn't even talk about, right? Like, there's just so much. I mean, Acosta, what's up with her? Like, who is she? Randall, like, what's going on with him? Is Marielle ever gonna have some tie-in and connection now? Because, now that we found out about the ruins, and she seemed kind of curious about, like, what was going on with Julie and whatnot, right? Like, there's still so many things that they need to kind of get across at some point that we're gonna need answers to. And I don't know how you answer all these questions in just such a quick matter of time. I mean, Victor, again, like, there's still so much to unpack and unravel with Victor. So much story still left to be told with Victor. The boy in white, like, like, what's going on with that? Like, also, which, like, Victor, he tells him, like, oh, you're supposed to be my friend. He's like, I am. I tried to help Christopher. I tried to help by telling Christopher, and now you guys need to learn on your own. And it's like, what? Like, so because you told some random dude, 40 years ago, now everybody's got to die? Like, have you not seen Boyd? Like, Boyd's a guy that would probably listen and take what you have to say to heart and do whatever he has to get everybody out of here, right? Like, it's just, there's so much. It's crazy. And, like, even just, like, as I'm talking right now, I have things kind of just fumbling into my brain that I'm just like, man, like, I don't know how you resolve everything that you need to resolve in one episode. Right? And then the problem is, though, too, is that, like, does season 4 kind of build up and end up, having even more questions, and you just keep, again, like I mentioned earlier in this video, and I've said it before, right? Like, at what point do you have so many questions that you're never going to be able to answer? Now, could it possibly be that that's deliberate, right? Like, kind of like the people in Fromville. You don't think that they have more questions than answers, right? Like, so is it something where, we're kind of lost at times, just like they are? So many frustrating questions. Stuff like, there's some things that I don't like. I don't think, or not that I don't think should be answered, but, like, is okay if they don't get answered. Like Fromville itself, right? What is it, right? I don't think it's something that is absolutely dire to answer, right? Sometimes the mystery is the scary part. As soon as you start explaining too much, right, it starts losing that luster, right? But, I as always, this is a discussion, and I pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? What do you make of this episode that we just had? What do you make of the episode 10? Do you think that we're gonna get the answers? Do you think everything's gonna kind of unpack and unfold? Do you think no, there's zero shot that they're gonna be able to answer everything that needs to be answered and resolve all the questions and all the characters and story points and stuff that we need to resolve? Again, we know that another season's coming, which is good. So, but yeah, it's just a lot. But anyway, again, how you feel, whatever your thoughts are, I love to hear it either way. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.